So let us start a new toxicant. Before going to discuss a new toxicant, we have to recapitulate what are the things or chapters we already discussed under the toxicology. So we already discussed in our previous presentation regarding definition, history of toxicology, source and classification of toxicant, diagnosis, the line of treatments, and we already discussed a metal arsenic. So in this class, we are going to discuss a new metal lead, which is very important for both human as well as animal toxicity. So before going to start the lead, we have to discuss how the metals or heavy metals is going to produce toxicity in living being, particularly the animals. Generally, the heavy metals like cadmium, mercury, lead, arsenic, nickel, copper, these all metals are showing the property to bind with the biological ligands. Biological ligands means those compounds which are found in the body and which is required for the physiological function of the body is called biological ligand. So what these heavy metals are going to do, like lead, mercury and cadmium, they are going to bind with the biological ligands like sulfur. And as we know, the sulfur is very much rich or present in proteins. So when this heavy metal is going to bind with the sulfur, a constituent of protein, therefore that is going to produce the toxicity. And what are the other thing other than sulfur the heavy metals are going to bind are either with the oxygen of the biological ligand, sulfur or nitrogen, and these ligand oxygen is in the form of hydroxyl, is in the form of carboxylic acid, in the form of phosphoric acid, is in the form of carbonyl in case of oxygen. In case of sulfur, sulfur is present within the body in biological ligand in form of sulfhydryl group, disulfide, and nitrogen is in form of primary amine or secondary amine. So these heavy metal, toxic metal are going to bind with these ligand, oxygen, sulfur, nitrogen in these form, and therefore it impair the physiological function and produce the toxicity. So this is the general line of mechanism of action of toxicity of a toxicant, particularly the heavy metal. Here we are going to discuss some point what is chelate, what is chelating agent, and chelate, what is first we have to discuss what is chelate. So chelate is a complex of a toxic metal plus the compounds is called chelate. What it means, metals are going to bind, toxic metal are going to bind with the physiological ligands like oxygen, sulfur, nitrogen, that is called ligand. So toxic metal bind with physiological ligand is called chelate. That compound is also called chelating agent, or heavy metal antagonist is called chelating agent. So what is this chelating agent? Chelating agent or heavy metal antagonist is clear cut indicating the agent which chelate the heavy metal is called chelating agent or heavy metal antagonist. So what is the function of this chelating agent or heavy metal antagonist? In place of body ligand, physiological ligand, the heavy metal is going to bind with this chelating agent, or chelating agent are having affection or love with the heavy metal to bind and therefore form a chelate, and after binding with this heavy metal they are going to be excreted out from the body. What it means, in place of physiological ligand, the heavy metal is going to bind with the chelating agent, that is also known as heavy metal, and bind, and thereafter they are going to be removed from the body. So in place of both physiological ligand, that is not going to produce the toxicity and therefore used as a heavy metal antagonist. So this is about the chelate, chelating agent or heavy metal antagonist. And now we have to discuss our next toxicant, lead. This is also a heavy metal and this is also called plumbum. The lead is also, Latin name is also plumbum. So as you know, the lead in the periodic table belong to sixth group and bluish white in nature. Which one? The lead. Lead is thought to be that this is the responsible for fall of Roman Empire. Which one? The lead toxicity is thought to be fall of Roman Empire, indicating this is historical important poison or a toxicant. So we are going to discuss lead under the heading what are the sources of the lead that produces the toxicity. In toxicity we are going to discuss what are the species get affected other than human, I mean animals. Thereafter we are going to discuss absorption, distribution, metabolism and excretion under the toxicokinetic. Then thereafter we are going to discuss how the lead are going to produce deleterious effect or poisoning effect in the animals, that is called toxicodynamics, and we are going to discuss the diagnosis based upon clinical signs, lesion and laboratory test, and the last one, the and not the least, is the treatment of this lead toxicity. So we are going to discuss lead toxicity under these heading that we already mentioned. So first we have to go through the sources. So under the sources that are very, very important sources we are going to discuss here are batteries, that we know we are using the too much battery. Then we are also using solder to join the iron, so plumbing solder. Then we are also using the paint, but nowadays we are also getting the unleaded paints. Also, the we are having the petrol or gasoline, that is the leaded one. So from here we also get the source of lead. Then we are also using in lubricants like grease, like motor oils. Then in farm machinery and lead plates. Also, lead are very good source from the lead industry, lead, that is the lead mines, also in the sewage. Also earlier we are using the pesticide lead arsenate, but Nowadays we are having the safer one other than lead arsenate, so we remove this one. So this is all about the sources. Next is the exposure, how the animal get exposed from the lead toxicity or human being toxicity. And the main exposure route of toxicity is through the oral route or ingestion. Other than that, through the inhalation and also through the skin. So major route of exposure of lead toxicity is by oral or through the ingestion route, and other than that, the inhalation route as well as the through the skin. How the animals get exposed? Animals, some those animals, they are having the licking property, chewing property. They are going to easily touch the foreign material, and those species are get easily exposed to the lead toxicity, in which the species are cattle and dogs. They are exposed easily. However, the horse is get exposed also, but occasionally, whereas the cat is get exposed rarely. However, the pigs get somehow resistant to the lead toxicity. So this is about the exposure of the different species. Amongst that, the exposed one is the cattle and dog, then the horse, then the rarely cats, and somehow that is the pigs are somehow resistant. The children, in case of human being, the primary source of toxication is the pain. Now we have to go through the toxicity, which one form. As we know, the lead is made as a metal, is existing in divalent and tetravalent cation form, and this is the form of the toxicity. And because of its divalent and trivalent property of lead, it compete, it take place, I mean lead takes place of the zinc and calcium. And because of this taking place of zinc and calcium, they produce one of the another region, they are going to produce the toxicity, because this is going to take place not only the sulfur but also the zinc and calcium. So we have to discuss in detail regarding the property of the lead is concerned. You will find after the absorption of the lead is going to the bind, primarily bind, which is about 99% of the lead after its absorption through any route get bind with the erythrocyte. And because of the binding capability with the erythrocyte, they are going to produce the anemia, its fragility, and the free one, which is about approximately 1%, which is circulating in the blood, and which is distributed and distributed in soft tissue like kidney and liver, and the redistributed in bone. And when it reach in the bone, in the teeth and the hair, the half-life of bone in bone, the half-life of lead in bone, which is about 20 years. So think about that. And in the blood, particularly the human blood, the half-life of the lead in human blood is about 30 days. So this is very, very important. Whereas its absorption in kids is about 70%, and in adult which is about 95% in bone. So this is very, very important. Regarding toxicity is concerned, because of its absorption, the non-ruminant, the lead absorb more as compared to ruminant. However, it is more in young animals, which is about 90% ingested lead get absorbed in young animal. So after the young animal, the non-ruminant get more exposed because of its absorbability as compared to the ruminant. So now we have to go through the toxicity species wise. Lead toxicity species wise. So we already discussed the most susceptible species are cattle, dog, horses. The cat is rarely exposed, the pig is somewhat resistant, and as I earlier mentioned, horse is occasionally exposed, whereas the cattle and dog is most exposed. So this is about the species-wise variation in toxicity with the lead. Regarding toxicity is concerned, lead is going to produce peracute or you can say acute toxicity, and the most important is chronic toxicity, because when the lead is coming very slowly in the circulation for a period of days, weeks or months, lead get accumulated, and chronic lead toxicity is also called plumbism. So what is plumbism? Is the chronic lead toxicity, and this is because of the accumulation of lead. When the lead is coming slowly and slowly, and within the days or weeks or month, it get accumulated and produce the chronic type of toxicity. Now we have to go through the other subheading, that is the toxicokinetics, means absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. Then first one is about the absorption. We already discussed about the absorption that the major route of absorption of lead is oral route. So oral route is more important. And if you are going to compare organic with the inorganic and metallic lead, then the organic lead compound is usually absorbed, readily absorbed, than the inorganic lead salt and metallic lead. So this is very, very important. And those in those feed, when there is deficient of the calcium and zinc, so in place of calcium and zinc, in zinc and calcium deficient species, the rate of absorption of lead is enhanced. So this is very, very important, because this is get replaced by the lead, because that lead is also in the divalent or trivalent form. After the absorption, it get transported, and that is transported, it bind with the erythrocyte membrane, and as we discussed, which is about 60 to 90% is going to bind with the erythrocyte membrane. Why? Because of its capability to bind with the hemoglobin, and as well as the other than this binding capability of erythrocyte, because of its binding capability with the hemoglobin, it also possessing the capability to bind with the sulfhydryl group. So where the sulfhydryl is present more, as we know, there are several enzyme, that is the sulfhydryl containing enzyme, which is participating in many important physiological function like Krebs cycle, like the synthesis of the hemoglobin, the enzyme, some of the enzyme they are having the sulfhydryl group, so there they are also going to produce the toxicity. So regarding absorption is concerned and its transportation is concerned, lead is going to bind with the hemoglobin of the erythrocyte, and that is going to interfere in the synthesis of heme synthesis or erythrocyte synthesis. It increases the fragility of the erythrocyte, as well as this is going to produce the anemia, and after that this is also going to through that is going to transport to the or distribute to the soft tissue like kidney and liver, redistributed in bone, teeth and hair, because of this divalent in nature, and hair is concerned because the sulfhydryl content in the hair is more, and only a small quantity of inorganic lead is also going to pass out the blood-brain barrier and reach in the gray matter and basal ganglia. So this is also going to produce the cerebral edema because the inorganic lead in a small quantity through blood BBB pass out and reaches in the gray matter and basal ganglia. So produce cerebral edema, and therefore this is going to produce the encephalopathy. Now we have to go through the everything we already discussed, this as we already discussed distributed in the soft tissue like kidney and liver. In kidney it get deposited in the form of the inclusion body. This inclusion body should be seen by using light microscopy, and this is very very important and produce the nephropathy and kidney toxicity. Which one? The lead. Why? Because this is going to deposit there, and also going to deposit in the bone also. Now we have to, this is about the absorption. Now we have to go through the absorption in the children, as we already discussed the in children, because the blood-brain barrier is immature, ill-developed, and because of that the inorganic lead should pass out through the BBB and reach in the brain and produce the cerebral edema or edema, as well as it also crosses out the placenta and accumulate in the fetus. And because lead is going to produce uterine vasculature necrosis, this is going to produce the stillbirth and abortion. So this is very very important. And when the kid is going to eat the lead is going to produce the toxicity related to the brain. Why? Because it should easily pass out the blood-brain barrier, and therefore this is going to reduce the IQ of the kid because of the toxicity concerned to the brain. And therefore this is called delayed neurological development defect in found in the kids. So this is very very important, and that we already discussed about this. And we, regarding in bone is concerned, in initial phase the lead is going to deposit in epiphyseal or growing epiphyseal plate of growing animals, and later on from this epiphyseal plate the lead is going to deposit in cancellous bone. That is about 60% of lead is going to deposit in cancellous bone, and this is very very important. And the lead is also going to produce the bone marrow depression, and because of the bone marrow depression it suppresses the hematopoiesis. So this is important. Regarding excretion is concerned, the main route of excretion or major route of excretion of lead is the kidney, about 60 to 65%, and about 30 to 35% of the lead is going to be excreted out through the bile. So main route of excretion of lead toxicant is the kidney through the urine, and next is the bile. And this is all about the toxicokinetics. Absorption and mainly the excretion are the important. Also, no doubt distribution and redistribution is concerned. So now we have to discuss the next point, that is the mechanism of toxicity. How the lead is going to produce the toxicity, that is also called the toxicodynamics. That is the how a lead or poison or toxicant is going to affect the physiological function or hurt the body of the animals. So this is very, very important. So we already discussed the lead is having capability to bind with the sulfur, in which the sulfhydryl group is very, very important. So lead is going to bind with the sulfhydryl groups and interfere those enzyme which having the sulfhydryl group. In this, the heme in heme synthesis pathway, some of the enzyme like ferrochelatase and alpha delta aminolevulinic acid dehydratase, they are the sulfhydryl containing enzyme of the heme synthesis pathway, and it affects the heme synthesis. So this is very, very important. And another important thing regarding this is concerned, as we already mentioned, the lead is compete with the mercury, calcium as well as the zinc. So this is very, very important. It affect the function of the enzyme, or the in other places where the calcium or zinc is participating in the physiological function. Regarding other mechanism is concerned with the lead is that it also interfere the sodium potassium pump or sodium potassium ATPase. So this sodium potassium ATPase, that is also called sodium potassium pump, they are very important for cellular membrane function. And as we earlier discussed, the blade is having capability to bound 90% to the erythrocyte, and therefore because of its affection with the interference with the sodium potassium pump or sodium potassium ATPase, they increase the fragility, and because it bind with the hemoglobin, that producing the anemia, because it is also going to affect the sulfhydryl group containing enzyme in the heme synthesis. So it also influences the heme synthesis. And because this is also crosses the blood brain barrier, that is going to produce or reach in the brain, and therefore this is going to produce the neurotoxicity. Regarding neurotoxicity concerned to the lead is concerned, this is going to produce the neuronal necrosis, capillary damage, cerebral edema. In peripheral nervous system, this is going to rupture the nerve by demyelination, and therefore it reduce the nerve conduction. So this is very, very important. And the most important, because the lead is going to compete with the zinc and calcium. So in case of calcium, as we know, the calcium is participating in nerve ending to induce the release of some of the neurotransmitter. As we know, calcium is participating in release of neurotransmitter, and therefore lead, when interfere with the calcium, it inhibit or interfere with the release of some of the neurotransmitter like dopamine, acetylcholine, GABA aminobutyric acid. Why? Because the lead is going to compete with the calcium, and calcium is very much required to help in release of neurotransmitter at the nerve ending. So therefore this is very, very important to release the neurotransmitter from the nerve ending, which is the major nerve ending. Now we have to know what is the so here we have to see what are the toxicity affected the different organ, because this is going to produce the nervous system. So neurotoxicity or nervous system toxicity, because this is a the caustic in nature, that is going to produce the gastrointestinal toxicity, because this is going to participate to bind with the erythrocyte and also bind with the enzyme of the erythropoiesis or heme synthesis, which is contain the sulfhydryl group. they affect the hemopoietic system. So hemopoietic system is also affect. Cardiovascular system is also affected, and because it also going to deposit in the kidney, in the kidney, and therefore it is going to produce the renal toxicity. So major system affected with the lead are nervous system, gastrointestinal tract system, hemopoietic system, then cardiovascular system, and renal system. So these are the system that is concerned with the toxicity. Now we have to discuss one by one the neurotoxicity concerned to the that we already discussed. Now we have to go through the gastrointestinal toxicity. Regarding the gastrointestinal toxicity concerned to lead, as we already discussed, lead is the caustic in nature. So because of the caustic in nature, that is going to produce the inflammation. So when there is inflammation because of the caustic in nature, therefore this is going to produce the vomison, anorexia. And another effect of the most important with the lead, that is going to produce the smooth muscle contraction. Which one? Lead is responsible for smooth muscle contraction, and therefore it produces the colic pain, abdominal pain, that is also called lead colic. Why the lead colic is concerned with the lead? Because the lead is going to contract the smooth muscle of the gastrointestinal tract, and therefore it produces severe excruciating colicky abdominal pain, and therefore this is called lead colic. So lead colic, and also produce the constipation. So therefore this is the general, you can say, the symptom. So you will find these symptom is also in the animals, lead colic. So when you are going in case of lead colic concerned to the lead, when you are going to give the gluconate, calcium gluconate by intravenous route, this is automatically relieve the pain. Then you will say the pain is lead colic, because when we have given the lead calcium gluconate, it relieve the pain. Therefore this is called the concern to the lead. Now we have to discuss the toxicity of lead on the hemopoietic system. This is very, very important, and this is the hemopoietic cycle in which there is synthesis of heme occur. What is hemopoietic system? In this is going to synthesize the heme, or you can say erythrocyte. So this lead is having the capability to bind the hemoglobin, as well as the capability to bind with the sulfhydryl group containing enzyme. So where the sulfhydryl group containing enzyme are delta aminolevulinic acid dehydratase. So this enzyme is a sulfhydryl containing enzyme. Another sulfhydryl containing enzyme in the hemopoietic system of heme synthesis is ferrochelatase. This is also called heme synthase. Easy to recall, because after that heme synthesis occur. So the name of the enzyme is either heme synthase or ferrochelatase. So this heme synthase or ferrochelatase is sulfhydryl containing enzyme, and another enzyme is delta aminolevulinic acid dehydratase is heme synthesis sulfhydryl containing enzyme. Therefore lead is going to act on these enzyme, and therefore it inhibits the heme synthesis and erythrocyte synthesis, and thus nucleated erythrocyte you will find in very much. And when this enzyme get inhibited, you will find more amount of alpha aminolevulinic acid. So what is the name of this enzyme? The name of this enzyme is based upon this component, where only we put here the dehydratase. The name of enzyme is delta aminolevulinic acid. The name of enzyme is dehydrase. So therefore, when this step is get inhibited, you will find amount raised in blood. This acid is raised in the blood as well as in the urine. You also find raised protoporphyrin in the blood or urine. Corpophyrin, corproporphyrinogen in the blood. Then protoporphyrin also raised in the blood. So most important is the alpha aminolevulinic acid and also protoporphyrin in this toxicity raised in blood as well as the urine, and this is the marker used as a test to diagnose the lead toxicity. So now we have to go through the in written form. So here, as earlier I mentioned, the lead is going to inhibit DALAD, delta aminolevulinic acid dehydratase, or furochelatase, that is also called heme synthase, and these two are the sulfhydryl containing enzyme. And another enzyme that is inhibited by the lead, that is very very important, is the inhibition of 5 nucleotidase. So lead is going to inhibit the 5 nucleotidase, and because of inhibition of this enzyme, it also increases or responsible to increase in fragility of erythrocyte, not because of only this enzyme inhibition, also because it also influences the sodium potassium pump, that is also known as sodium potassium ATPase. And because of this increase of the erythrocyte fragility, because of inhibition of this enzyme, the basophilic stippling occur. What is basophilic stippling? Basophilic stippling is because of the inhibition of this enzyme, and you will find when you stain the blood, you it get the stain, and you find the basic stain get increased. So this is about the mechanism of toxicity concerned to the hemopoietic system. Now on the cardiovascular system. On cardiovascular system, it have going to produce the blood pressure. So it is going to produce the hypertension. And as we earlier mentioned, the major affected also organ is the bone, because this is going to be redistributed in the bone, which is found about 90% of the total body load in the bone. As we earlier mentioned, the half-life of the lead in bone is about in years. So this is very very important. Also this is going to, earlier we also mentioned, this is going to deposit and form the lead line because of the deposition of the lead in the developing bone, that is the epiphyseal plate. So because of the deposition in early phase in epiphyseal plate as well as in the cancellous bone, they are going to form a line, that is we call it the lead line. So this is very very important. And also in addition to that, it also get deposited in the teeth, particularly the enamel and dentine. So this is about very very important. Now we have to go through the toxicity concerned to the immune system. That is going, lead is also going to produce the immunotoxicity, that is the toxicity concerned to the immune system. So what the lead is going to do with the immune system? The lead is going to increase not only the IgE synthesis, that is the antibody IgE synthesis, it increases, lead is increases the IgE antibody synthesis, as well as inflammatory cytokines also get increased. And because of this increase of cytokines and IgE in neonatal rodents, this in case of children, it has been seen because of increase of IgE and increase in cytokines, this is going to enhance the asthmatic problem. So this is very very important concern to the immunotoxicity. And regarding nephrotoxicity is concerned, as we earlier discussed, the major route of excretion of lead is the kidney, as well as it also get deposited there in form of inclusion human body, and it is going to produce the toxicity that is called nephropathy and nephrotoxicity. So this is important. Now, other than the kidney, then the hemopoietic system, then the GI tract, that is also going to produce the toxicity concerned to the reproductive system as well as the endocrine system, that is called endocrine toxicity and reproductive toxicity. Regarding endocrine toxicity of lead is concerned, lead is going to impair the growth hormone. Another hormone is the insulin growth factor, and also it interfere with the calcium, and therefore because of the interfere with the calcium in the skeleton, that is the bone, this is going to produce the abnormality in bone growth that we already seen in the epiphyseal plate as well as the cancellous part of the bone. So this is very, very important. And regarding reproductive system is concerned, it adversely affect the reproductive function because it affect the gamete of both the male and females, and therefore it is going to produce the reproductive toxicity with the lead. Now we have to go through the diagnosis of the lead toxicity. How we have to diagnose the lead toxicity? So diagnosis of the lead toxicity is concerned with the based upon the sign, clinical sign, based upon the lesion we found, based upon the laboratory test that we have to perform. So by these three means we have to diagnose whether the animals are suffering from the toxicity with the lead or not. So first we have to go through the clinical sign. So those are organ that are affected with the lead, that is going to produce the symptom concerned to that particular organ. In that we have to go through the brain first. So in brain, as we have already discussed, this is going to produce the encephalopathy because of the edema, cerebral edema. So because of the cerebral edema, encephalopathy is going to produce, and you will find the symptom characterized by seizure, tremors, blindness, depression, and the loss of memory, that is the dementia, because this is concerned to the GI tract. So GI tract, we already discussed this symptom also. Now we have to discuss the specific symptom, clinical symptom concerned to the species wise. So we have to go through the cattle. So cattle with the new, if this lead is going to affect the nervous system, then you will find the blindness. The animal is going to press the head because of this, because of the cerebral edema, and other concerned symptom with the brain are ataxia, circling movement, acute tonic seizures, and others. That is all are concerned with the neurotoxicity. Now we already discussed in the common sign that in the GI tract, this lead is going to produce the constipation, and this because constipation is because of the ruminastasis, and as well as the vomison we also find. But in the ruminant we can't find it, so we are not going to discuss vomison here with the cattle because the cattle is not going to vomit. And regarding the toxicity concerned to the hemopoietic system, as we earlier mentioned, this is going to affect the heme synthesis, and therefore because the heme synthesis get affected, and because of the heme synthesis get affected, the you will find the elevated free erythrocyte, porphyrin in plasma and urine, because the full erythrocyte synthesis, I mean the heme synthesis, does not occur, and therefore you will find the erythrocyte ill-developed erythrocyte or nucleated erythrocyte. In case of horse, you will find the neurological or neurotoxicity. The symptom is quite similar to the cattle, that is the blind, head pressing, the knuckling of fetlock, that is the and also roaring, that is the paralysis of the laryngeal nerve. The concern with the GI tract in of the horse, it is going to produce loss of appetite, and we already already discussed, there is going to produce the lead colic. So here is the moderate colic is there. And in case of male horse that of age below the 4 years, that we called it the colt, and is in case of colt you will find the epiphyseal enlargement, and we call it the lead line because this is in the form of line. So as we already discussed, the lead is going to deposited in the epiphyseal plate in early stage and later on in the cancellous bone, and in this case this is going to produce the lead line in the horse. And toxicological sign concerned to the dog concerned to the neurological is barking, seizures, and maniacal behavior, that is concerned to the neurological or neurotoxicity. Regarding GI tract is concerned, because the dog is going to vomit, so this is vomition, anorexia, colic, constipation, abdominal pain. So these all symptoms, you will find the symptoms similar to the human being. And on the hemopoietic system, the mild anemia because of the drawback with the heme synthesis. Also it bind with the heme. And also as we earlier discussed, that the because of the inhibition of enzyme 5 nucleotide, there is basophilic stippling. And you will find the nucleated RBC that we already discussed, because heme is not synthesized properly because of the inhibition of enzyme, because of enzymes like sulfhydryl containing enzyme like DALA, delta aminolevulinic acid dehydratase, and ferrochelated, that is also called heme synthase. And also you will find the elevation of the earlier component of the heme synthesis like protoporphyrin or delta aminolevulinic acid. These you will find. Regarding lesions is concerned, in microscopic lesion is concerned, you will find in case of brain poliomalacia, in case of cattle Minsky, you will find because of the cerebral edema, you will find the cerebral necrosis and poliomalacia. And as earlier mentioned, because of the deposition of the lead in the kidney, they are going to produce the necrosis, renal tubular necrosis. So this is very very important. And because of the you also found the acidified inclusion body in the renal tubules, and also it get deposited in the liver, so also found in the hepatocyte. Regarding the laboratory diagnosis, this is under the diagnosis. The first one was on the based upon the clinical signs, second one on the lesion that we already discussed, the third one is the last one is the laboratory diagnosis. Based upon the laboratory diagnosis, we have to say that the animals is suffering from the lead toxicity. In this hematological sign, as we already discussed, heme synthesis get impaired, and therefore you will find the nucleated RBC. And along with that, you will find the basophilic stippling because of the inhibition of the enzyme 5 nucleotidase. And this is mainly for the dog. And as we already discussed, the protoporphyrin and DALA is also found in the urine, or you can say the blood, and this is also the markers. You can say these are the markers of the diagnosis of the lead toxicity. Why? That we already nucleated RBC, because the RBC is not well developed, so that is why the RBC is in nucleated found. Because the inhibition of the 5 nucleotidase, that basophilic stippling is there. Because of the inhibition of the sulfhydryl containing enzyme, you will find there is the no heme synthesis. So the other component participating in the heme synthesis get accumulated in the blood and urine and act as a biomarker for diagnosis of the lead and urine. And because of that, you will find blood as well, and in urine is DALA. What is the DALA? Delta aminolevulinic acid. As we earlier mentioned, the DALA dehydratase get inhibited, so therefore DALA is not propagated in synthesis, in heme synthesis. Therefore delta aminolevulinic acid amount get increased in the blood as well as the urine, and this is one of the biomarker. And we also have to give the therapeutic drug calcium disodium EDTA, and if this calcium disodium EDTA increase the concentration of the lead after the treatment of this antidote, then we will say that is the animal is suffering with the lead toxicity. If lead will not increase about fourfold from the earlier concentration after the treatment with the calcium disodium EDTA, then we will say the animal is not with the lead toxicity, because this calcium disodium EDTA increase the rate of excretion of lead from the deposited side, and therefore it will enhance the concentration in the urine, and this is the one of the diagnostic feature. And this the earlier mentioned, you will find in the urine DALA, then porphyrin, the corpoporphyrin, then zinc protoporphyrin. Why these are the component participating in the synthesis of heme synthesis, and if the heme synthesis get inhibited, you will find this is as such remain in the blood, and therefore it is excreted out through the urine, and therefore the concentration is raised in the urine. And now we have to go through the last one, that is the most important, is the treatment. So we have to go through the treatment of lead toxicity, and the most important is the chelation therapy, that is also called antidotal therapy, and this is you will call the specific therapy. So a specific therapy is also called chelation therapy, also called antidotal therapy, and this is most important therapy, because if you know that the animal is suffering from this lead, then you have to give the specific therapy, that is called chelation therapy or antidotal therapy. If you don't know whether the toxicity is because of lead, then you have to give either decontamination of the GI tract, or you have to go supportive of symptomatic treatment, or you have to go through the supplemental therapy as per the symptom. As you know, the decontamination of GI tract means giving the drug like gastric lavage, which helps to remove the drug give with the gastric lavage, the drug like the charcoal, activated charcoal, that is adsorbent, that is also coming under the decontamination, that we are going to give activated charcoal along with the cathartic, that is also coming under the decontamination of gastrointestinal. And also we have to give the gastric lavage to wash out the GI tract, and we also have to give the purgative to remove the toxicant. Then we have to give the supportive treatment as per the symptoms. The animal will seeing the animal symptoms, we have to treat. But amongst the all the, if you are aware that the toxicity is because of the lead, then you have to go through the chelation therapy or a specific therapy. So a specific therapy for the lead toxicity is calcium disodium EDTA or disodium calcium EDTA. Also the BAL, that is also called dimercaprol, and in this DMSA, and another is D-penicillamine. So these all are a specific treatment or a specific antidote for the lead toxicity. So we have to start the specific therapy with the BAL or dimercaprol. So we have to start the treatment with the dimercaprol. Why? Because dimercaprol is going to cross the blood-brain barrier. So when the antidote dimercaprol crosses the blood-brain barrier, it reaches in the CNS, and therefore it increases the excretion of lead from the central nervous system, and it alleviate or nullify the symptom related to the neurological system. So that is why we have to start the lead toxicity treatment with the dimercaprol. And or if you are not getting the dimercaprol and you want to give the drug of the same type by oral route, then you have to give the DMSA. This is the orally absorbed one, that is the called dimercaptosuccinic acid, and the dose we have written here. And After that, you have to give the calcium disodium EDTA or disodium calcium EDTA by subcut or IV route. And after you may try the another antidote, D-penicillamine. D-penicillamine is similar to the other compound. They are containing the sulfhydryl group in on in I mean the antidote itself contains the sulfhydryl group. So what will happen, the heavy metal like lead is in place of going to bind with the physiological ligand that is going to bind that to the antidote that we have given like D-penicillamine or BAL, and therefore this is going to chelate the form the chelate and helps to excrete out through the from the body. And D-penicillamine is contraindicated when the lead is not get absorbed from the GI tract, because when you are going to give the D-penicillamine in decontamination stage of GI tract, then what will happen, because of giving of D-penicillamine, it when the lead is not get absorbed from the GI tract, it enhances the GI tract absorption of the lead, so it enhances the absorption of lead. Therefore we are in contraindicating this when the lead is not absorbed from the GI tract. So this is important. Now we have to go through the supplemental therapy, and this is also very important. Why the thiamine? Thiamine, as we know, is a vitamin B1. So as we know, vitamin B1 is the very good source or supportive one for the neurons. And when you are going to assign concern to the neuron, then you have to better way to treat by thiamine. So that is why we are going to give the thiamine or vitamin B1 as a supplemental therapy. Next active supplemental therapy is the dexamethasone, is a corticosteroid, and as well as we are using a diuretic, particularly the osmotic diuretic mannitol, alone or in combination. Why? Because this dexamethasone is an anti-inflammatory agent, and because of its anti-inflammatory property of dexamethasone, this is going to reduce the cerebral edema, and therefore this is going to help in the that symptom concern to the neurological toxicity. And osmotic diuretics, why we are giving? Because this is going to help in removing out the uh, lead from the urine. We are also giving the zinc supplement that we already discussed, the zinc and calcium, which interfere with the lead. So when you are going to give the zinc in place, this what this is going to do, this zinc is going to alleviate the severity of epiphyseal enlargement in male horse, that we are going to call it the colds. Also we are going to give the osmotic cathartic, that is you call the purgative or purgative or cathartic. Why we are going to give the osmotic cathartic or purgative? Because this is going to evacuate the lead present in the GI tract, as well as this osmotic cathartic like sodium sulfate, magnesium sulfate is going to combine with the lead to form lead sulfate, and this is going to excrete out through the feces. And if there is the seizure symptom, ataxia symptom, neurological symptom in coordination, in there we have to remove the seizure. We have to give the sedatives like diazepam, or you can say the barbiturate like pentobarbital. So this is all about the today class, and in next class we are going to discuss about the next toxicant, and I am here with requesting to all the students to read it properly, and we are going to go through the examination. That's all.